The first time he said the words, she thought she had misheard him. "Stand by me as my wife," the millionaire said quietly, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. The room fell silent, the city lights glowing behind him like a false promise. And in that moment, her heart leapt, not with joy, but with confusion, because the way he said it sounded less like love and more like a deal. Elena had worked for Daniel Cross for 3 years. To the world, he was a self-made millionaire, a business genius who turned broken companies into gold. To her, he was the man who stayed late at the office with her during impossible deadlines, who remembered she hated sugar in her coffee, who once sat beside her on the floor after a brutal board meeting and whispered, "You did great. Don't let them break you." She had fallen for him quietly, carefully, knowing men like him didn't fall for women like her, an assistant from a modest background with dreams that felt too small next to his skyscraper life. So when he asked her to marry him, standing there in his penthouse office instead of on one knee, she didn't know whether to cry or laugh. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely holding together. Daniel turned away, jaw tight. "Because I need you." Those words cut deeper than if he had said nothing at all. He explained it slowly, as if laying out a business proposal. His family's company shares were tied to a trust that required him to be married within the year. His mother, gravely ill, wanted to see him settled before she passed. The board wanted stability. The media wanted a story. And he needed someone he trusted, someone loyal, intelligent, and strong enough to stand beside him under public scrutiny. "I'll give you everything," he said. "Security. Respect. A name no one can ignore. I just need you to play this role." Elena felt her chest tighten. She had imagined him saying her name with love, not strategy. She had imagined warmth, not terms and conditions. "And after?" she asked. He hesitated. Just for a second. But that second told her everything. "After, we'll see," he replied. She wanted to say no. Every part of her screamed that this would break her. But then he looked at her, not the confident billionaire, but the exhausted man beneath the suit. His eyes were shadowed with fear, not of failure, but of losing his mother, of losing control of the world he had built. And Elena realized something terrifying: she loved him enough to sacrifice herself. "I'll do it," she said softly. "But I won't be invisible. I won't be treated like a contract." Daniel nodded. "You won't be. I promise." The wedding was nothing like she had dreamed. There was no trembling joy, no whispered vows filled with meaning. It was grand and flawless, broadcast across magazines and social media. Elena smiled until her cheeks hurt, wearing a ring that felt heavier than gold. The world adored them, the powerful billionaire and his elegant, mysterious wife. No one knew she cried quietly in the guest bedroom that first night, listening to Daniel work late in his study like nothing had changed. At first, she tried to convince herself it was enough. Daniel was kind, always polite, always distant. He introduced her proudly at events, defended her when gossip columns speculated about her past. He even confided in her sometimes, late at night, when the walls between them seemed thinner. Those moments kept her hope alive, even as her heart slowly cracked. But the truth revealed itself in small, cruel ways. He never reached for her hand unless cameras were nearby. He never said her name with tenderness. And one night, she overheard him on the phone, saying, "Yes, it's temporary. She understands." That was the night her heart finally broke. Elena stopped pretending after that. She fulfilled her role perfectly, but something inside her hardened. She began volunteering at a local women's shelter in secret, rediscovering her sense of purpose. She took business courses at night, learning not just to support Daniel's empire, but to build something of her own. If she was going to stand beside him, she would not disappear in his shadow. Daniel noticed the change. She was calmer, quieter, stronger. And for the first time, he felt afraid, not of losing control of his company, but of losing her. Then his mother died. The house filled with mourners, sympathy, and hollow words. Daniel stood like stone through it all. Elena never left his side. She held him when the doors were closed, absorbed his grief without asking for anything in return. And in those long, silent nights, something shifted. Daniel realized she was not just standing beside him, she was carrying him. One evening, weeks after the funeral, Elena finally spoke the truth she had buried for months. "I know why you married me," she said calmly. "And I know it was never about love." Daniel froze. "Elena. I don't regret standing by you," she continued, her voice steady but wounded. "But I won't live as a temporary solution. I deserve more than being needed." The words hit him harder than any accusation. For the first time, he saw the damage he had caused, not because he was cruel, but because he had been selfish in his fear. "You think I don't know that?" he said quietly. "I told myself it was practical. Safe. I told myself feelings didn't matter." His voice cracked. "But somewhere along the way, you became the one person I can't imagine losing." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't move. "Love isn't something you discover when it's convenient," she replied. "It's something you choose, even when it costs you." The next morning, the headlines exploded. Daniel Cross announced he was stepping down from several board positions, restructuring the trust, and publicly acknowledging that his marriage was not a performance, but a partnership he intended to honor fully, without conditions. He stood beside Elena, not ahead of her, not above her, and said words he should have said from the beginning. "I married her because I needed her," he admitted. "But I learned that needing someone is not the same as deserving them. I'm asking for the chance to do better, not as a billionaire, but as a husband." Elena didn't answer immediately. Love, she had learned, should never be rushed back into a broken heart. But this time, the choice was hers. Months later, in a quiet place far from cameras and contracts, she took his hand, not because he needed her, but because he had finally learned to stand beside her too. Their story didn't end with wealth or power. It ended with truth, growth, and a hard-earned understanding. Real love isn't built on hidden reasons or desperate needs. It's built when two people choose each other openly, honestly, and without fear. And sometimes, the most inspiring love stories begin not with a perfect proposal, but with the courage to admit you were wrong, and the strength to love better than before.